Congress. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce to you Mr. Yuria Panasenko, who's instructor of our program Protection of the Patriots, and Victoria Tanasienko. She's coordinator of the conference. On January 19 through January 21st, will held the international conference in the Ukrainian House. The topic of the conference will be development, standardization, and implementation of unveiled medicine in Ukraine. A humanitarian initiative of the Ukrainian World Congress is the initiator of this conference. Our initiative, Protection of the Patriots, organizes trainings in on-field medicine based on the approaches applied in the NATO countries. We have launched our trainings this autumn, and our course is designed especially for Ukrainian servicemen and National Guard servicemen. Having graduated from this training, each instructor receives IFAC. This is individual first aid kit, which is packed in line with NATO standards. And as of the moment, we have disseminated up to 8,200 these trainings and first aid kits. And our objective is to supply all the servicemen in a ATO zone with this first aid kits. Ukrainian approach is of on-field medicine is quite different from the NATO countries. In NATO countries, evacuation of a wounded serviceman takes some food, not more than 15 minutes for evacuation from the field, and then up to 90 minutes for evacuation to the hospital. In this slide, you can see these standards which are applied in the NATO countries. You see that there is a big difference in time frames at all stages. The initial stage when a fellow serviceman has to provide assistance to his colleague, to his fellow, is much longer, up to between 8 and 12 hours. Then the wounded serviceman is transported to the hospital, and this again takes much longer time. The next stages are to develop new standards, to implement these new standards for on-field medicine. We should apply these Western standards to allow bigger numbers of our servicemen to survive during this first stage of delivering assistance. During our conference about development, standardization, and implementation of on-field medicine in Ukraine will be held in a format of trainings, roundtables, practical trainings, and interviews with Ukrainian medical staff. Our objective is to bring together all stakeholders of this process, military officers, headquarters officers, medical personnel, volunteers, and to start introducing these NATO medical standards. We had already meetings with the Ministry of Defense, with the National Guard's representatives, with the National Security and Defense Council, with Security Service of Ukraine, with military medical staff, with individual people. They all assured us that they are interested to participate, and we expect to have very productive and efficient trainings and discussions. Our joint objective is to implement better standards and to allow our servicemen to get this better assistance. We will familiarize participants of the conference with international experience in this field, and at the same time, we will organize exhibition of various goods and services in the sector of on-field medicine. So this conference will be opened on January 19th. We have many participants as speakers from NATO countries, from the United States, and we would like to thank you to Ukraine Crisis Media Center, to our partner foundation, Suprun Foundation, which cooperates with us.
You showed the scheme very clear that in Ukraine, in the east, the evacuation lasts much longer than it should be, and much longer than according to NATO standards. If we analyze the reasons, why is it the situation is like it is, why it lasts so long? There are many other problems which are taking place till the course of the servicemen rescue was introduced. Very few Ukrainian servicemen had the understanding on how to give first aid to civilians. That is very much different from the tactical medicine, from the course of the servicemen's rescuer.
And very many of them were dying because no one knew how to provide the aid. And this is the first stage. The second stage is that this wounded person should be stabilized before and until they are evacuated to the military hospital. The system of evacuation is absent in Ukraine. There are no evacuation vehicles and no helicopters, armored helicopters and armed helicopters that can evacuate the wounded. And the NATO standards allow 15 minutes for help to the wounded person until the doctor comes, and then up to 1 hour before they are taken to the hospital, and then 2 hours before the doctor sees them. And this is how the soldiers survive. The problem in Ukraine is that your military are only now learning how to provide the aid, and there are no medics who can provide help during the evacuation because in Ukraine the evacuation vehicles do not have the equipment for medical assistance, and before the wounded person arrives at the military hospital, 2 to 48 hours can elapse. According to American standards, we have the so-called golden hour because, if you can take a wounded person to the doctor within 1 hour, then it gives 90% higher chances to save their lives. And in Ukraine, this takes 2 to 48 hours. That's why we have to help our military so that they improve the system of providing first aid and evacuation assistance, and bring the wounded to the military hospital. And then I would say that specialists in military hospitals in Ukraine work very well, but then where the intensive care comes into the picture is again bad because military structures or medical structures were not prepared for this amount of intensive care. I have a question. You mentioned that you cooperate with the commandment of the Ukrainian army. How do you maintain your relations with them? And do you see a preparedness on their side to switch to other standards of providing aid? Recently, the head of the medical department of the Armed Forces of Ukraine was replaced. Before that, we were working with Mr. Andronati, and he is not in place now. I met the new head of the department today. He is ready to work with us. In the future, we have already trained 9,500 Ukrainian soldiers. Most of them are from the Armed Forces of Ukraine. We have given them first aid kits, and we have also educated 75 people as instructors so that the state and the ministry are involved in the process, not just the public. But it is hard to work because the officials are being replaced rather quickly. As you know, we now see the fourth minister of defense since the war started, and they are together with us. They are educating their military. They help us when we go to the military bases or where the units are located. So we will work with them in the future. They agreed to take part in the conference, and they will speak together with us. So you see preparedness on their part. Yes, but I would like to give the floor to our instructor, who is now undergoing training, and he has direct connection with soldiers and officers of the armed forces. So I think that he has something to say. Yeah, what I can say, I am Yuri Opanasenko. I'm an instructor, and I work for a fighter rescuer course, and the picture now is far from satisfactory as far as the first medical aid is concerned. All our fighters, irrespective of which structure they belong to, they do not understand to the full what they should do when a person sustains a trauma, well, any trauma. And the main problem is that when you go to our hospitals, you won't see a great number of badly wounded people. But why? There's a lot of explosions and all this kind of stuff. This is because people cannot provide timely and qualitative aid to each other. We have very brave warriors who can drag a person from the situation where no one would go, but after this they are paralyzed because they don't know what to do. And even when, they have a person who can provide this help, later when they have to evacuate people, there's no timely evacuation, as Uliana said. This is a huge problem, and it should be solved now, because even at this time there may be a fighter who lies there unhelped, unassisted, and the entire understanding of this we try to convey to our military and to other people so that our fighters and our defenders feel themselves protected. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much, and we invite you to the conference. We will have the press conference as a program, and next year, closer to the time of the conference, we invite everyone to take part in it. And if you have any questions or ideas, there are press releases, there is contact information. You can contact us directly. Thank you.